Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well, but I've got some important and unfortunate weather updates to share with you today. The latest high resolution models have come in and they paint a concerning picture for many parts of the country. We're seeing a stronger than expected nor'easter impacting the Northeast, a potentially historic snowstorm set to slam the deep south, and an Arctic outbreak bringing dangerously low wind chill values that could make outdoor conditions life threatening. There's a lot to unpack, so let's dive into the details and break everything down for you. Starting with the nor'easter, the system has intensified, and the latest data suggests significant snowfall totals across much of the Northeast today and into early tomorrow morning. Areas across Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and much of New York are expected to see between 5 and 8 inches of snow. Meanwhile, parts of Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine are also in the path of this storm and will experience similar totals. If you're in downtown New York City, you can expect 4 to 7 inches of snow based on the National Weather Service forecast. These totals might not seem catastrophic, but combined with strong winds, they'll create hazardous travel conditions, particularly on untreated roads. If you have plans to travel today or tomorrow morning, make sure to allow for extra time and prepare for delays. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. But that's just the start. The Deep South is bracing for a winter storm that is shaping up to be not only extreme, but potentially historic for this time of year in this part of the country. The latest updates show snow beginning to develop late Monday night and intensifying through Tuesday. According to the Canadian model, by midnight Monday, we'll see snowfall spreading across central, eastern, and southern Texas. As we move into the early morning hours of Tuesday, the snow will intensify. By Sister Houston, Texas, will likely be dealing with heavy snow, freezing rain, and sleet. Corpus Christi is also expected to see freezing rain and icy conditions, while Dallas and much of eastern Texas will experience light to moderate snowfall, which could become heavy at times. As the day progresses, the storm will continue to strengthen and expand its reach. By lunchtime Tuesday, we're looking at moderate to heavy snow stretching across central and northern Louisiana, southeastern Texas, Mississippi, and Alabama. Ice accumulation is a significant concern for southern Louisiana and parts of Houston. The combination of freezing rain and snow in these areas could lead to treacherous road conditions and widespread power outages. Some locations in southern Louisiana, including Baton Rouge and New Orleans, could see snowfall totals exceeding 10 inches. For areas like these, which rarely experience significant winter weather, this storm could be truly devastating. Let's look at the European model for comparison. It shows similar developments, with snowfall beginning in Texas late Monday and intensifying throughout Tuesday. By early Tuesday morning, Houston could experience blizzard-like conditions due to strong northerly winds blowing snow around. In Corpus Christi, we're looking at significant ice accumulation, which will make travel nearly impossible. The same goes for Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Mobile. These areas are expected to see heavy snow and ice, with some locations receiving over 10 inches of snow. Isolated areas might even approach a foot of snow, making this storm one of the most severe winter weather events the Deep South has seen in years. Moving further east, the storm will impact northern Florida, southern Georgia, and Alabama. While snowfall totals in these areas may be slightly lower, ice remains a major concern. Freezing rain is expected to create a narrow corridor of significant ice accumulation, particularly in northern Florida and southeastern Georgia. Some areas could see over half an inch of ice, which is enough to bring down trees, knock out power lines, and create dangerous travel conditions. If you live in these areas, now is the time to prepare for power outages and avoid travel unless absolutely necessary. The storm will continue to move east throughout Tuesday, impacting the Carolinas before finally moving offshore by Wednesday morning. Snowfall totals in the Carolinas could range from 3 to 6 inches, while northern Florida and southern Georgia might see 2 to 4 inches of snow. Even though these amounts are lower than what's expected in Louisiana and Texas, the combination of snow and ice will make this storm highly disruptive. Ice accumulation in parts of northern Florida and southeastern Georgia could lead to widespread power outages and hazardous conditions. Now, let's talk about the Arctic outbreak, which is bringing some of the coldest air of the season. This air mass is plunging down from Canada, and the latest forecasts show wind chill values as low as S60 in parts of northern North Dakota by Monday morning. This kind of cold is extremely dangerous. Frostbite can occur in just minutes, and prolonged exposure can be life-threatening if you're in these areas. It's critical to stay indoors and limit any outdoor activity. The Arctic air mass will continue to push southward, impacting the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and parts of the Midwest by midweek. Wind chill values in these areas are expected to range from 20 def to 230 def through Wednesday. While temperatures may start to moderate slightly by Thursday, the cold will remain dangerously low for much of the work week. If you're in the affected areas, make sure to dress warmly, check on neighbors, and ensure your home is prepared for the cold. Now, while this is definitely a heavy snowstorm, we need to talk about how the timing of this storm is going to affect your travel plans. With it being a holiday weekend, traffic might be lighter than usual, but make no mistake, this is still a storm that's going to be hard-hitting. The snow will fall fast and hard, which means it will stick quickly and pile up rapidly. Roads are going to be tough to keep clear, so even though it's not a major snowstorm for every location, the impacts will definitely be felt. Travel on major routes like I-95 from New York City to Washington, D.C. is going to be tough, especially this afternoon and evening. As the day progresses, the snow will intensify. By around 5:00 p.m., snow squalls are expected to move through Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia, and the heaviest snow will be focused along the I-95 corridor, particularly in cities like Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. By 7:00 p.m., New York City will see its heaviest snow, and Boston will get its heaviest snow by about 9:00 p.m. It'll be a long night for the Northeast, especially in places like Boston, where snow won't wrap up until about 0 or 4:00 a.m. By then, the storm will be moving out, and we'll be able to focus on the next big event. This crazy Gulf of Mexico snowstorm. Now, you might be looking at the radar right now and thinking, what Gulf snowstorm? There's nothing showing up. Well, that's because this storm is still developing in the upper levels of the atmosphere. The surface conditions haven't caught up to the actual weather yet, but that's going to change fast. As we push into Tuesday morning, January 21st, things are going to start to get crazy. It might not be something we see every day, but we're looking at snow showers all the way down to the beaches of Texas with sleet and freezing rain in places like Mexico. Yes, I'm talking about snow in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's not just a flurry. It's going to be significant. In fact, this storm could bring one of the heaviest snowfalls these areas have ever seen. The area I'm most concerned about right now is between Houston, Texas, and New Orleans, Louisiana. These areas are likely going to see snow like they've never seen before, heavy, wet snow that could cause major disruptions. And trust me, it's not just snow that we need to worry about here. The ice is going to be a serious threat as well. Northern Florida and southern Georgia could be looking at a major ice storm. And if the conditions come together just right, this could end up being one of the worst ice storms in decades. We haven't had a major ice storm in the South since the 1980s, and this one is shaping up to be one for the history books. So what are we looking at in terms of snow totals? Right now, it's still early to give you exact numbers because this kind of storm doesn't happen very often in the South. The forecast models just aren't built for this, so things are going to be pretty uncertain for a while. But based on the latest data, we're seeing a conservative estimate of around 7 inches of snow in central Louisiana. However, the forecast could change a lot as we get closer to the storm, and it could end up being even more than that. And one thing to keep in mind is that the snow totals are looking a little further north than what we saw in the original GFS model, which suggests that the heaviest snow might actually fall farther north than expected. One thing's for sure, whoever gets the heaviest snow in the Gulf Coast region, whether that's New Orleans, Alexandria, or somewhere else, is likely going to experience something truly historic. Snow totals in parts of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi could easily top 6 inches, and that's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event for many of you. South Carolina and North Carolina might also get in on the action, but the models are still a little uncertain about how much snow they'll see. So we'll have to watch that closely as the storm evolves. But the real wild card here is the ice. The areas that see the heaviest snow could also be at risk for significant ice accumulation. Northern Florida and southeastern Georgia are currently in the danger zone. And if the ice totals end up being as high as they're predicting, we could be dealing with major power outages, tree damage, and dangerous travel conditions. If the ice ends up being half an inch or more, we could be looking at a situation where people are stuck at home for days and roads are impassable. If you live in these areas, make sure you're getting prepared now. Get a generator, stock up on supplies, and make sure you've got everything you need in case the power goes out. I'm telling you, this storm is the real deal. So, how cold are we talking? If you live in the deep south, you're about to get hit with an Arctic blast. Temperatures are going to plummet, and we could be looking at temperatures that struggle to get above freezing for a couple of days. In places like Houston and New Orleans, we're expecting temperatures in the mid-20s, and it's going to feel even colder with the wind chill. If you're not prepared for this kind of cold, you might be in for a rough few days. We're also looking at sub-zero temperatures across the Midwest, with places like northern Wisconsin hitting 15 degrees and even colder wind chills. So if you're in the affected areas, you need to get ready now because this cold is going to last a while and it's going to make everything harder to deal with. Right now, we're officially in the action phase of this storm. The forecast models are coming into better agreement, and it's clear that this is going to be a big event. It's not a maybe situation anymore. It's happening. The details are still a bit murky, especially with how much ice we'll see and where exactly the heaviest snow will fall. But one thing is for sure, this storm is going to be impactful. If you live in the pink areas on the map, you need to start making preparations now. Get your supplies, plan your routes, and make sure you have a backup plan if things go south. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe, stay prepared, and let's get through this storm together. If you've learned anything from today's update, it's that this storm is not something you want to take lightly. Get ready, and I'll see you all in the next update. Stay safe out there.